Hello, Chris here with another episode of the Make It podcast. And this is an Indie Talk week. And that means I have my good friend and co-founder with me, Nicholas Buggs. Nick, say hello.
Hello, hello. What's up, man? Nice blue shirt, bro. I like it.
Thank you very, very much. I think it comes off a little purple on camera, which I think helps too, because I'm such a caramel brown.
It's not just that you're caramel, such a caramel brown. I got it. Okay.
Yeah. You can almost see my face spinning in a vat, where they're mixing that caramel together.
I don't know, man. I don't know if you're that red. There's some red tones in that caramel.
Yeah.
And I thank you for not saying caramel, by the way. It's definitely caramel.
You're
caramel.
welcome. There are people who get mad at the pronunciation of the word Phoenix. I don't understand it. It's just a thing. What I do understand is that we are going to have a great show today. We're going to talk about this nothing burger of a WGA potential strike, at least for now. Maybe it will end up being something.
Right.
We're going to talk about the IP game in the film business. And we're going to touch a little bit on branding and marketing, especially around what we see happening with films like Blood and Honey and
Cocaine Bear. Yes, sir.
And our take on that as folks who deal in that branding and marketing space in film. And then, of course, we're going to bring back a couple of our great segments. First, Culture Check. A little culture check moment. And then we'll have some friendly advice from one of our recent mistakes in the making guests, Priscilla Wise. So looking forward to sharing that with everyone. And let's talk about the aforementioned WGA Nothing Burger. And I think my take on it isn't really about the potential writer's strike or the Writers Guild strike. It's more about how early the media gets in on it and takes a cynical viewpoint, right away. I mean, this is early. Contract hasn't expired yet, although it's forthcoming. So how is it positioned in such a negative way? Well, I'll tell you why. As a journalism major and someone who worked in journalism for a little while, we have to sit in a room and we say, hey, which article got the most comments online? Which one got the most engagement? If it's an internet thing, which one got retweeted the most? Which one got the most clicks? And then it's like, let us put out more stories like that. And so I think that's almost always an outrage machine. And it puts us in the state we're in today in media, which is to get paid and to stay alive, I need to put out stories that people click on it. And this is just one of them.
Yeah. And it's like, so you said things that people click on, right? We call that clickbait. Right. Yep. But I think it's slightly different than clickbait because it's actually taking you to a legitimate story, right?
Yeah.
That's actually related to the thing that you're clicking on. But that's my concern, too. So there's a legitimate I don't know if you want to call it an issue, but there is, legitimate. There's something happening, which is WGA's contract is going to be up. I believe it's May 1st. Right. So that's actually happening. So because that's happening, there needs to be some prep for, well, what is the new contract going to look like? Right. Because as we've talked before, I guess you got two options, right? You stick with the same contract or you get something better, right? There's no other option, which is we do worse, right?
Right.
So if the same contract that they have is not serving their membership well, right, which is a challenge right now because streaming, their current contract is really written around the rules that were associated with potentially theatrical, right, and television rules. And now we're going into streaming, and the way that the television rules, they're not working well with streaming, and the writers aren't getting paid what they used to get paid, and now it's more difficult for them to make a living, right? So there is this possibility of a bit of a standoff, because if that's the case, right, if the current state is that the writers are not able to make a living under their current contract, then something has to change, right?
Yeah.
That's the idea. So that means that there's going to be some level of negotiation. There's going to be some back and forth. There's going to be some conflict in there. But I'm 100% with you in that there's a lot of stir about this potential strike. It's like, watch out for it. It's like, and Hollywood's preparing for a strike and they're doing all this stuff. It's like, no. They're not preparing for a strike. They're preparing for the end of the contract and the need to negotiate a new one, right? So everything that Hollywood is doing is normal. Everything the WGA is doing is normal. So yeah, like, why stir up stuff? But I guess you answered the question, right?
You kind of have to. And the real potential for a strike that exists, and look, the last time the strike happened, it was 2008. And that was, right as the market was crashing or right around that same exact time. So sometimes the timing of these strikes works against writers.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the last strike, although it was necessary, I thought it hurt writers in the short term quite badly because of the macro conditions of the market. And look, the bottom line is that's where we're at today.
Exactly what I was going to say.
The floor could fall out from out from under us any moment, any day. What big bank is going to go belly up that's going to cause the entire market to crash? At what point can the Fed continue to raise interest rates by 25 to 50 basis points until we hit a deflationary market that kills networks' ability to create not just new content, but pay out additional funds for content that already exists. Now, on the other side of that, though, the WGA is fantastic, and they have incredible leaders that negotiate these contracts that I would say are more complex than ever. Because how do you get paid from FAST TV? How do you get paid from SVOD? How do you get paid from VOD? There are a lot of new types of streaming that are being created, and all of those types of royalties have to be figured out and have to be, agreed upon. And the WGA's strength really shows in the fact that their writers are willing to strike, A, but B, they're able to negotiate contracts their writers are willing to accept. If you have ever been in Nashville, like where I am, that the organization supporting, or the lack of organization supporting songwriters here in Nashville changed everyone's lives that were already in the industry. Can't tell you how many singer-songwriters, but songwriters from the 70s, 80s, and 90s who were basically on scholarship because they had written hits, how their life changed when Spotify came out and when Apple Music came out. And really before that, iTunes was really the one that changed the game for all of them.
Yep.
They were making mailbox money that was significant enough to pay their bills. They weren't getting rich by rich people's standards, maybe by, other people's standards, but they weren't getting rich, but they were able to pay their bills. And now some of these songwriters who have always been getting mailbox money every quarter that's significant enough to pay bills and have something left over, that money went away because there was no WGA to stand there and say, let me negotiate, or let's figure out how to still get these writers paid, instead of just those who write for the top 1% of 1% of artists.
And that's what the writers are saying, is the same thing, is that they're not looking for a contract that makes them independently wealthy, right? Yeah. They want that mailbox money to enable them to have a living wage, right? To get paid for doing the thing that they love. So hopefully it does move through, a good process, the process the WGA will facilitate, and hopefully the streamers, the big distributors out there, Hollywood itself, whatever Hollywood really is, hopefully all of that will work itself out and it doesn't go the way of a strike. Because I think there are some things we know that we need to, well, I won't say we know. I would say that I'm sure that the streamers and these big distributors, they know they've been able to get over, but they've been able to get over legally, if not so much ethically, because of the way that the contracts were done. Right. I think they know that.
Yeah.
So the WGA is now just trying to right some things going forward, which makes sense.
Well,
I'm
and not to mention
it.
that let's not fool anybody. Let's just call a spade and call call it for what it is. There's Hollywood accounting, right? And it's an incredibly shrouded industry, which in my opinion, every network distributor should be audited if they're not on a regular basis. Because if they can pull back and rip back without your knowledge money from you, they will absolutely do it. And they've been proven to do it time and time and time again. And you have to be diligent as a writer or as a filmmaker about not being necessarily satisfied that you got your mailbox money, but did you get the right amount of mailbox money?
That's and you're able to audit. It's just it costs you to audit. So I'm thinking more along the lines of, can the WGA as a body have that in their contract to be able to audit, right?
Yeah,
do it across the board.
And they have, Nick, they have the money. They have the endowment to do this. Individual filmmakers, to your point, they don't.
They don't.
And they're really left in a position, and I really feel like distributors understand this quite well. They're really left in a position to just trust, and
I don't even know if it's trust, man, to be honest. I think it's one of those where it's kind of like coming up against a bully, not to put them in that position, right? But what are you going to do? Right. What's really your option? You don't have any other options. So you just take what you can get, right? If that bully makes you go down, a hallway that now makes you late for class every day, well, at least he's not beating me up.
Right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw in the news this week, Nolan Gallagher from Gravitas is stepping down. He's going to just focus on the soccer team he co-owns. And I think MLS team. So that'll be interesting to see how that particular distributor changes within the marketplace. And look, this could sound like we're dog whistling our advocacy for unions. My opinion, and this isn't Nick's, but my opinion is that unions have a place and they don't have a place. What do I mean by that? When they're good, you find them in the correct context. And when they're disruptive, you find them in a context that actually stops business and stops innovation and, prevents those things. And then they become power hungry and they become greedy in their own right. So I'm a bit on the fence on it. I'm not pro or con union, but I'm pro or con which market, which industry needs the union and which ones have got a union but could do without it.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. That's a whole other topic in itself. There are so many different types of unions. It's a whole other ball game. I think in this case, the WGA is definitely necessary to help support such a large swath.
They're right? One of those ones where it's like, good job, Producers Guild, good job. Like, it seems like in film, if you didn't have unions, you could have some real chaos at the studio level, but unions involved in an independent film is typically a hindrance. So you see what I'm saying? So it's so give or take, here or there kind of, kind of thing. I did see also this week that Fast and the Furious is going to have another movie. Gino Toretto or whatever his name is rides again. My guy Vin Diesel. I love Vin Diesel, by the way. Vin Diesel did it the right way. Like Vin Diesel, bet on himself and won. Like that's what every indie filmmaker wants to do. Like, so trust me, I didn't need another Fast and the Furious, but I do love Vin Diesel and I do support his journey and everything he's about because you can't have like a better success story. I don't even, by the way, I'm not sure that's his character's name. So if it's not, everybody like, don't kill me, forgive me.
Yeah,
But it's an IP world, right?
Yeah, it has its place. Right. And I'll honestly say that, I'm not a big car guy. Right. So I'm not
car or
car guy.
Yeah,
so I'm not that into Fast and the Furious, never have been.
You are into Asians though.
And I don't even know where to go with that comment.
You love Asians and you love Asian culture.
I know, but you're
like the Wu-Tang Clan, but you don't rap.
Right. But this is crazy because a topic we have for later. But anyway, I've never been into it. But like you said, IP from an intellectual property perspective and just guaranteeing yourself work. Yeah. And guaranteeing your family work. And I say family I believe that the Fast and Furious cast and likely a ton of their crew are making these movies together, right? Yeah. It's the same people doing it over and over again.
Tyrese in every movie.
Exactly. And what I'm saying is that this is wonderful, right? This is the type of thing you want to see. So whether or not I'm a big fan of the movies, like, whatever. I think they're doing a great job. And I think that they've made a long runway, right, for all of the people involved in that franchise.
Will you tell the audience awesome. what you majored in college, Nick?
I majored in computer science and mathematics.
Now, in mathematics and computer science, there are certain boundaries and rules, right? It's like certain formulas that seem to always work that are bound by a certain type of logic, right?
Of course.
Yeah. So in this movie and in the trailer, there's a scene where two helicopters pick up his car.
They shoot him through the doors.
No. They pick up his car.
No, they shoot him through the doors with the harpoons.
Yeah. They shoot the doors. They lift him up.
Yes.
And he revs the engine of the car.
Yes. And
somehow the engine's so powerful in the air.
He slams the car down.
He's able to slam the two helicopters down on the ground. Now, since you have a degree from Vanderbilt University in mathematics and computer science,
in the School of Engineering,
explain how this phenomenon works.
Oh, it's 2 words, brother. You ready?
Yeah.
Movie magic. That's it. Like, and here's the thing.
Wait, are you telling me that if I am elevated in a car and I mash the gas, I'm not going to thrust 2 helicopters down to the ground? I can't do that?
No, you can't. You can't do that. Now, here's the thing. I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know if by mashing the gas, I'm using your term. If there is some sort of jet propulsion, right, that is pushing through the roof of his car, that is then pushing him down towards the ground.
Okay.
Thereby pulling the helicopters down. I don't know. He could. Remember, all these cars are souped up. I don't know what kind of James Bond stuff he's got going on. But if that's the case, then yes, he could do that. That could be a thing.
There you go. More IP, James Bond.
Yeah, there you go.
What other IP are you seeing right now?
Oh, it's hot in the streets. I mean, we do have, of course, you and I have just recently seen Ant-Man, right? You've seen that. Ant-Man. So there's IP there, and no spoiler, but I want
Jonathan Majors.
Yeah.
He was no spoiler.
No spoiler, but I will say that this is very similar to what we just talked about this idea of defying physics or creating movie magic or creating rules. Okay, this might be another thing in Fast and Furious.
No spoiler, but you know what I don't need in Ant-Man? I don't need Michelle Pfeiffer grabbing things out of the air and spinning them and then acting like she can break the time continuum by doing that.
Stop. Hey, well, let's wait. We'll have that in like 2 weeks when like all the spoilers are already out. And yes, it did, but that's for whole other reasons. Okay. And primarily for this reason. And I'm gonna jump off this. We can talk about IP. But the main thing is that in this particular movie, which may be also the thing that they did in Fast 10, is their desire for you to suspend your disbelief based off of a whole new set of rules they have created for that film. Right? It's like, we're just going to invent some stuff to make that make sense.
Yeah.
What? It's like, and we're gonna, and then the thing is,
That's what it felt like watching that movie.
Exactly. Because the thing is that, you know, we always say show, don't tell, right? That's like the key thing when you're writing a script and you're making a movie, show, don't tell. They told a lot, you know? So again, we're going to do this thing where this thing happens and this thing happens. And then real quick, let me explain to you why that worked. Okay. In this universe, the physics is backwards and upside down, left, right, and, you know, A, B, start. And if you don't get it right, the first, it's like, come on, man. No, whatever, bro. Like, anyway, so Ant-Man, of course, that's IP. But the latest thing, of course, is Disney saying that they're bringing back like everything. We're getting Toy Story 37. We're getting Zootopia 2. We're going to get Frozen. You know, and then right now, of course, the IP that you and I are really interested in, intellectual property, is Cocaine Bear and another bear movie.
2 bear movies at once.
That's right.
We
Winnie
can barely
the Pooh.
bear it.
But don't bump. You got.
I'll be
Winnie
here
the
all
Pooh.
night, and the more I drink, the funnier I get.
Exactly. You got Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. And I just want to let me just jump in on that one real quick.
Okay.
All right. And then we can do some little back and forth, right? I just did some Googling.
Explain to the audience what blood.
Yeah, well, you know, it's Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh, the character and all the characters in that set, if you will, entered the public domain. I want to say it was 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So basically that copyright is up, right? And this happens with every character. I'm really concerned for Mickey Mouse next year, by the way. Mm-hmm. So Winnie the Pooh is out there in the public domain. Now anybody can make a movie. So someone decided to make, and you know, and it's funny, I say someone, I haven't done the due diligence to actually look these people up, but they've made the movie Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, which is a horror film based off of these characters, right? So it's Pooh and Piglet, I believe. And what's happened is Christopher Robin has left them behind. Yes. He's gone off and lived his own life, left them behind, and they're starving in this land where they live. And they kill Eeyore and eat Eeyore. And now they're out looking for blood and honey because they're mad at Christopher Robin. So anyway, I did some Googling, like I said, as people do. Right. So check it. I Googled Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. So I put it in quotes, right? I want just Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Right.
All right. I Googled it. The reason I Googled it is because Google gives you the number of search results that come back.
Okay.
31,300,000 results.
That's remarkable, man.
It's insane. Okay. On IMDb right now, it's getting a score of 4.4 out of 10 with a meta score of 16. Okay. Mm-hmm. But it's movie meter. Okay. There's how many movies on IMDb? It's like over 8 million.
I was going to say it's in the 10 million range.
Yeah. They made 8 to 10 million movies, right?
Yeah.
It's 94.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. It has grossed $2 million worldwide. Now they're saying that it's a low budget indie, right? And I'm not sure what that budget is.
They spent less than $50,000 on the movie.
Okay, and
I read an article.
You read that? Okay, so less than 50,000.
Saying that he wouldn't say the exact number, but it was less than the number that was put out, which I think was said it was like half of 100,000 or less than that.
Yeah. So, and if you've seen the trailer, you'd believe that, right? So let's say it's less than 50, let's say it's 50,000, right? It's already made $2 million worldwide.
Yep.
Okay. And that film has 7 distributors. 2 are in the US, 1 for streaming, 1 for theatrical. And then the rest are international.
International. Yep.
Okay. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, independent film made for less than $50,000. So I just want to, just talk to that real quick, because I think that, you and I always talk about intellectual property and how powerful it is and how independent filmmakers should be on that train.
Yeah. Independent filmmakers that are hearing what you're saying need to understand that this movie would not have done as well if it weren't Winnie the Pooh. It's not about the fact that it's a stuffed bear out for blood.
Exactly.
And honey.
Right.
But It's that it's Winnie the Pooh that's out for Blood and Honey. And look, I predicted when we talked about this the first time, even though I said it was quite stupid, that it had unicorn potential. And I think it's going to end up being an indie film unicorn where it's going to 10x its money. I think if they spent $50,000 on it, I think they're going to make $5 million minimum. And, I think it's going to order magnitude like that. And it might make a lot more than that. It might make.
Well, think about it. This is just.
It might make 50 million because it hasn't even been released in the US yet, I don't think.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but it hasn't been released for more than a month, 2 months, 3 months. Yeah. Like it's got time, right, to make the 50 million or whatever, right? And they're probably going to do a sequel, just like this idea of Cocaine Bear, right? Mm-hmm. Cocaine Bear is not as significant of intellectual property as a Winnie the Pooh, right? But they're leveraging the same type of thing and creating a world, if you will, around this type of character. Right. One is a character.
And you know what they had to do because it wasn't as significant of IP? They had to throw a hella marketing campaign at it and a bunch of dollars.
Yeah, because they got some really good cast,
tons of money.
Cocaine
Can't go
Bear.
Anywhere without hearing the word Cocaine Bear. Can't turn on a podcast. Can't turn on the radio. Can't turn on the TV.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So, but listen, I think you're making a good point and a point that we often make. It doesn't matter if you threw a bunch of money at it from a cast perspective, you're still going to throw a bunch of money at it from a marketing perspective.
Right.
You look at Blood and Honey, same thing. They didn't have a lot of money to throw at cast, right? They don't have a bunch of cast. They threw a bunch of money in there, or at least time and effort into their publicity. Right. Again, let me get back to this. 31,300,000 search results on Google on Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
It's insane.
Right. This is right. That's what I'm saying. I'm not just getting Winnie the Pooh. I put in the quotes for the whole thing. Right. If you scroll down, you're seeing all the stuff. So yeah, YouTube, you've got all of these blogs talking about it. It's on Variety. It's in the New York Times. They're talking about this movie.
Yep.
Right. So I think that's our, and I don't want to sit on this for too long.
It got written so much by the blogosphere and it made so much money that Variety had to write a piece about
it. And the New York
Times. Established rags they forced their hand.
Right. But this is what the reason that we're mentioning it is that that's what's necessary, right? If you want to take your $50,000 film and you want to move it into a $2 million film, then that's what you do. One, find some IP there's a lot of it that's out there in the public domain. I mean, it's as easy as searching.
It would surprise most people, yeah.
Yeah, it's as easy as searching for characters, even if you wanted to call it cartoon characters, but you could do characters in the public domain, leveraging one of those, or at least their story, right? I'll get to that in a second. And then having that publicity marketing campaign to go with it. Now, when I said leverage their story, and the reason I said I'll get to that in a second is because of Cocaine Bear. Okay. Mm-hmm. So Cocaine Bear is inspired by, right? So here's the key. You don't have to make it based on, right? So Alice in Wonderland, I believe Alice is in the public domain. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be based on Alice in Wonderland. It can be inspired by. Cocaine Bear, none of that stuff in that movie happened except for what? They dropped the cocaine and the bear ate it. Coke. But right, that's it. Everything after that did not happen. Which is why it says inspired. Magic. Exactly. It says inspired by real events. So you can do the same thing. So whether that IP is a character, right, that was a fictional character, or it was a real character, which the Cocaine Bear is, it is intellectual property that can be leveraged for an independent film that you market that can make you some money. I think that's the lesson in this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's brilliant. And I think, look, I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way. I think there are a lot of people in the United States, in the world, all over the globe that have really great movie taste. And the reason I know that is because great movies get nominated for Movie of the Year every single year, right? Which, by the way, I'm still on Tar. Give me Tar for all the marbles. Close second is Everything Everywhere All at Once. Okay. That being said, the demographic that moves numbers the most in film industry are 19 to 24-year-old men. 19 to 24-year-old men. Some of them are going to be film nerds and have incredible taste. But in many cases, you just haven't lived long enough to have a great sense of who you are and to have really wonderful taste. Why do I bring this up? Because it goes Cocaine Bear, but even more so Blood and Honey, just goes to show that you can make a movie that's underwhelming from a critical standpoint, but if it's marketed and branded properly, you can get these demographics excited to see your movie. And so that's why it boggles the mind when we talk to independent filmmakers that want to, of all pieces of the budget, neglect branding and marketing within it. When you have example after example after example of movies that aren't necessarily earth-shaking, but have incredible branding and marketing campaigns behind them and make a ton of money so that independent filmmaker can make their second and third movie. And so I just think it just goes to show, like, here's a movie about Winnie the freaking Pooh killing people, made for under 50 grand. It's probably going to be pretty rough watch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here you have a movie, Cocaine Bear, about a bear in Knoxville that comes across some cocaine and in real life dies in 5 minutes, as one does when he eats a brick of cocaine. But instead, you've got a great cast. They're hiding the fact that this is directed by Elizabeth Banks because they want you to feel like it's indie, right? Like they want you to feel like it's snakes on a plane. But that's part of the brilliance of the branding and marketing. So if you look at it, you have a studio film like Cocaine Bear and you have an indie film like Blood and Honey, and they're both leveraging the same thing. Why? Because it really, really works. And it works on the most important demographic in film, 19 to 24-year-old men.
Right. But what does works mean? That it makes money.
Purchases. Yep.
Exactly. It makes money. That's the key. So that's the part that I think we are, going to continue to emphasize, I think, going, through the rest of 2023, is the importance of the branding and marketing piece, and the fact that filmmakers cannot continue to neglect it. Like, that is just it's not a winning formula to make that piece of work and then just let it sit on the shelf, right? Even going to a festival is sitting it on the shelf. Like, that's not promoting it out into the world, right? It might be promoting it to a specific festival if you're accepted or whatever, but like, that's not it. It's bigger than that. And these two films prove it.
It's time for culture check. We need to do
culture check.
I need to get like a sample of that so I can just insert that in various places throughout our conversations and content releases. Just drop a culture check in there in post. Okay, so let's make sure. Let's write a note, an asterisk, to make sure the producers see that we need to get like a culture check button that I can press.
It's culture check. Culture check.
So what's our culture check for the month of February here, Nick?
All right, yeah. So let's pull it back to my apparent love of Asians,
or for this week, I should say.
Right. My apparent love of Asians and all things Asian, right? Mm-hmm. But this one jumped out at me, and maybe it's because of my love of Asians. But Simu Liu, right? So he was at the NBA All-Star Game this past Friday, and they do this whole celebrity look-alike thing on the Jumbotron, right? And it's split screen, and they show Simu Liu and then someone in the audience who apparently looks like him. Okay. So they did this.
This is NBA All-Star Weekend in Salt Lake City, right?
Yep. And he was there, right? And they did this, and the guy that they picked looks nothing like him, but of course is an Asian guy. So, I mean, it wasn't just Simu Liu who picked up on it, but other people picked up on it as well. Like, for real? Like, y'all just picked some random Asian dude? Like, that's the stereotype we're going to roll with?
Fit?
No, nothing like him. I'm just telling you, like, that's the thing. Like, sometimes it's like, oh, that dude's got dreads like this guy, or look at that guy's goatee like this guy, or look, this guy's wearing glasses like this guy. No, nothing. There's nothing resemble. He does not resemble Simu Liu in any other way than the fact that he's an Asian male. And so it's just crazy. So Simu Liu commented on it, and he was like, yeah, like, not cool, guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't look at me like me at all. Now, there's the political part of it where, you know, and I'm sure he was like, it's annoying, you know, like he's annoyed by it, but he's not going to try to file suit or anything, right? So he came back out after his first tweet. We're like, that's not cool. And he was like, look, the NBA is great. Like, all the folks there, I was there. They supported me. They gave me love. That's all good. Like, I'm not mad at the NBA. And it was one guy with a camera who made the decision to do that. Okay. And I'm not even necessarily hating on him. Like, I don't want him to get in trouble, but I'm like, really, dude? Yeah. But I'm like, really, dude?
Once you tweeted that.
Exactly. And then the guy who was in the, you know, in the Jumbotron, he also, Simu Liu also was like, well, you know, that guy's handsome. He just don't look like me. You know what I'm saying? And I think Simu was really trying to do the political thing or the PR thing, because I don't know, man. I looked at the dude in the thing, and I wouldn't necessarily call him handsome. And not by necessarily my standards or anything, but no, he didn't say handsome. My bad. This is his actual thing. Okay. All right. He says, this was just one person with a camera, and no disrespect to my man in the Videotron either. He's gorgeous. We just don't look alike. When you check out that picture of dude in the Videotron,
we should have producer at least drop it.
She can drop it in there for us. But I'm just telling you, he ain't gorgeous. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah. He ain't gorgeous. So anyway, it's just one of those things where this is like another one of those places where, you know, the guy who was recording, obviously, he made a mistake, and that's a cultural mistake, right? Because in this context, like now in today's time, maybe he was being funny. You know, like maybe that was a joke.
Maybe he's trying to be funny. Yeah.
But those jokes don't hit the same as they did
in the 90s. They smacked
to 10 years. Oh, all day. You know what I'm saying? And everybody would laugh about it. But now it's kind of like, dude, bro, you can't do that. That is culturally insensitive. But so anyway, I thought it was cool how Simu Liu handled it, because he did call him on it. Yeah. Right. As did tons of other people in the Twitterverse. But Simu also came back and was like, but chill, like, let's not get too serious about it.
He's a good human being, and he had a good human being response. So yeah, kudos to him. Like, as a light-skinned dude, I basically get told I look like every light-skinned black dude that ever made a name for himself.
Right.
From Al B. Shore to Heavy D to Will Smith when I'm in good shape. These days it's almost always Russell Wilson. I once shut down a TJ Maxx Home Goods because they thought I was Russell Wilson. I'm not even kidding.
Well, you can't be walking around with that football in your hand. You know what I'm saying? Stop doing it.
That was the giveaway. But it's like, it used to be Christopher Williams.
Right.
Who's the lead singer of PM Dawn?
No way. Yeah, I don't even know his name, but no way.
You get like such a wide range.
Oh, basketball player.
What about John Cicada? No. John, what's his name? The singer? John.
It's not Cicada, but I know you're talking about. Wait. Rick Fox. That's
Fox.
The other one.
Oh yeah, I get Rick Fox when I play basketball all the time. Who's guarding Rick Fox? Rick Fox is killing us. Like, I get that all the time.
I love it.
So
I
it's
love
just
it.
like, but I don't know if I've ever been called someone that I was offended.
Right.
Like Sinbad. I've been called like, so I look like Sinbad.
Yeah.
It didn't offend me. Sinbad's one of the low-key funniest human beings on the planet.
Yep.
He is underrated, way underrated. Like, just go watch a Sinbad piece. Mm-hmm. You won't be disappointed. He's a true pro. So I don't know. Have you ever been like compared to somebody where you were offended by the comparison?
No, I had to take it for what it was. And, you know, I've had a couple, you know, over my life, and I'll just say this. I think I could say that I've changed over time. right? I may have matured, may have grown a little bit. Maybe I got into the gym a little bit.
Yep.
But I'm gonna give you real quick, and we can jump off of this one. I'm gonna tell you the two people on the different kind of ends of the spectrum that I might have been compared to.
Mm-hmm.
Today, I get Terrell Owens.
You do get Terrell Owens, yeah.
I do. When I was younger, say in elementary school.
Yes. A much different Nick.
A much different Nick, and forgive me, I just hit the mic, but it was Steve Urkel.
Oh.
And I'm just saying, it was true. You know what I'm saying? I can't knock it.
Does that require you to wear high water jeans though?
No, I didn't do that.
But man,
the glasses, bro. The glasses. I had glasses that covered from my eyebrow down to my nose. You know what I'm saying?
But that's fucked up because that's what happens. That's what I'm trying to tell you about being light skinned. Basically, any black guy that wears glasses in school is going to end up being Urkel, right?
But yeah, but the thing is that I was like the only black kid in like most of my classes, right? So now I'm the only black kid in the class. I get straight A's. I got big Coke bottle lenses on, and, I will admit when I got older, I think, probably was in my 20s, went to a holiday party. Well, who you think I dressed up as, man? I got them suspenders. I got them jeans. I give us some old glasses on. I did the damn thing,
for you.
Yes, I did it because I could with the best of them, you know what I'm saying? So I did the damn thing, you know what I'm saying? So it's all good. I'm not complaining.
Didn't Urkel have that one line in one of the episodes where he's like, asking me not to see Laura is like asking the fat kid not to get seconds at supper?
So, I don't know.
Like it's like a line that you can't even say today, right?
You can't. Well, you can't.
And it was so funny when he said it in that Urkel voice.
Yeah.
I remember it distinctly to this day because it was so funny. It's so well written.
Yeah, well, you couldn't have what is it? Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they were ragging on Uncle Phil every episode.
They'd be on Phil.
Yeah, so like these days, I don't know that you could do that. But
they're
anyway.
on Unc's head. But that's also cultural, right? Like, I can just tell you, being biracial, that in like on my dad's side, in within white families, you don't really you don't bring up when someone's overweight, really. Like, it's not a topic that's brought up. It's like, it's taboo.
What if somebody has a lazy eye?
Not in a white family.
What if somebody has a peg leg? Like, the thing is that,
and not in a white family. Maybe the peg leg comes up if you start drinking. But now my house was a bit of a matriarchy because we would visit all my mom's family. And I could just tell you that in Black culture, that stuff isn't off the table.
Right. It's called playing the dozens. Right. It's not hurting people's feelings. Like, that wasn't the idea.
Yeah.
The intent wasn't to attack.
Yes,
right?
To motivate you.
Yeah. Or just playing the dozens. It's about having fun. It's like, because the thing is that we're all different, and we all have what you could say, we all have flaws, right? There is no perfection. And that's what playing the dozens was about, is that I'm going to pick out whatever that thing is.
Yeah.
And everyone has it. You know what I'm saying? So being overweight was just one of the things, right?
Yeah.
Because the thing is,
everybody can get that smoke.
Yeah. Because even Uncle Phil, I think, got on Will about his ears.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, get him on his clothes, get him on how messy he is. Like, he could flip it back if he needed to, and he did.
Yeah, and it worked in that show because the writers of that show understood that cultural element
exactly
in the Black community. Like, if you're in a friend group and you're the fat kid in that friend group, like I have been before, they're like on you, but they're also the guys who are taking you to the gym, helping you watch what you eat, like helping you be better at athletics if that's what you want to do, or whatever. Like, but they're not going to let you like ruin your life because they're and your health because they're scared to say something to you.
Right.
There's no fear that they're going to offend you. And in turn, you're going to go down this path
of like being the unhealthy guy or girl in the friend group. Like it didn't work that way. Now, I don't necessarily agree with it. There's a lot of things in Black culture that are just based on being minorities, really. It's based on it's like sticking together to survive kind of thing. Like things you wouldn't necessarily approve of if you were in the majority seat, right? Or things you wouldn't necessarily lean on so much if you were in that majority seat. So I will say that, but it's interesting that, like you said, culture check, there's like this cultural difference in what's acceptable in one community sort of, versus another.
Yeah. And I got, before we jump to the next one, which I want to do, because we got so much good stuff to talk about, just want to ask you one very quick question. How far back can you go in your lineage to say that you are biracial? For example, if your grandmother was white, right? But your mother and father are then mixed, are you biracial? If your great grandmother was white and then it trickled down, right? Like, are you mixed? If your great great grandmother, you know what I'm saying? Like, how far back do you go to say that you're mixed? Or how far is too far back?
Yeah. So I would say two answers on that. One, I think it has to be your immediate parents.
Okay.
Yep. Because if you have two Black parents at home and you find out your great great grandmother was white, that doesn't seem to matter. And if you're not dark Black, like African Black, then somewhere along the line, somebody white got in there. Right. Which is just the fact of the matter. It's just the truth. Right. So that's one. Two, I think that the term biracial and mixed, it's on there. It's up against the ropes. It's on the ropes. It's like a little dizzy. It's a little punch drunk. And it's just trying to fight out this last few rounds, because I think we are going to get to that point through technology and healthcare where we hit post-racial society, meaning that DNA and CRISPR and those technologies will be so prevalent, so readily available, that they'll become free with every doctor's visit you get, that your primary care physician will know exactly your DNA breakdown and what your precursors are here or there or the other, that everyone will sort of know that they're mixed up with so much stuff that to say that then you're biracial is almost like oxymoronic.
But it might come down to what you just said, though,
or duplicative. It's like, why do you have to say it twice?
Parents. Yeah, but if it comes down to just being your immediate parents, and that's kind of the answer.
That's who you. That's your identity that you walk around with. But at some point, what I'm saying is like, and it may take another generation or two. Actually, maybe it's not going to die as soon as I think, but maybe another generation or two where. What do you lean on as your identity more? Like, imagine a world in 30 years where your identity is based more on what your DNA profile says than the way your parents look in your house.
Yeah, I just had an interesting thought.
Okay.
So I was just imagining you as a biracial person.
You don't have to imagine. I'm right here.
Ellipsis, right? So imagining you as a biracial person saying, so you said identify with, right? So I think about identification with respect to, there's the gender identification, right? It's a big thing now, right? I was born a man, but identify with being a woman. This is how I want to, how I want to be, and this is how I want you to perceive me, right? And right now, it's very much so in the zeitgeist that if I want you to perceive me as a woman, then you need to do that.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, no, you have to do that. That's it. Right. So I'm just imagining you as a biracial male identifying as white.
Yeah. I see.
What would that look like in this zeitgeist where you're like, no, like you put white on everything that you got to fill the sentences. Anytime they ask you a question, you put white. And if someone comes and asks you a question, like, so how, Chris, tell us, how is it having this media company and having, branding and marketing in this, world as an African-American male? And you say, no, I'm white.
Yeah.
So that question doesn't apply to me.
Right. Yeah. This was what Dave Chappelle was getting at in his opening episode of Chappelle's Show. Right. Where he had the blind Black guy who didn't know he was Black.
Yep.
And then how that would play out. And it just goes to show how we use how we weaponize our identities. And then we take that out into society. We weaponize it out in society as a Black person, as a white person, as a man, as a woman, as a transgender, as we take it's identity politics, but we take it to our everyday lives, right? Where it's like, well, what's true is kind of separate from what you feel. That's what Chappelle was showing in that. It's like, what's true is you're a blind Black man. Right. How you feel is that you're a white guy in the South that hates Black people.
That's right. Yeah. And it's like, so for me also, I think about this, and again, I guess this is just kind of spinning dangerous, Nick. These ideas.
He was at Klan rallies, right?
Right. But it's not dangerous. It's not necessarily dangerous because it's not that the Klansmen are just going to kill the guy. That's not what they do. It's more like,
no, I mean, it was dangerous because he took his identity to go hurt other people.
Well,
remember he wrote all his books.
Yes, that's right. Well, he was being dangerous in his attitude.
Right.
But anyway, so I was thinking about this. So this is culture check. This is all within the culture check world, yes. Right? And we were talking about being biracial. And I think for us, for you and I mean, you are mixed, you're biracial, and I'll comment on my situation in a second. But it's not just that you're biracial, because you don't necessarily you don't identify with either or both. That's not the identification. Right. To me, you're actually bicultural. Right. And to a degree, I am as well. Right. But we never talk about that. And that's the thing, is that you have mixed two different cultures. Right. Yeah. And you mix two different cultures, and it comes down to what you identify with. So think about me. Right. So from my perspective, I used to get that question when I was in school about, Nick, why don't you act Black? Right. And I would get that from Black people. I would get it from white people. Right. I don't even know what it means to act Black. Especially didn't know when I was a kid. Right. Because my parents are Black. So I act like my parents probably. So like, what are you talking about? Yeah. So, but the idea was, it wasn't about my color, though they had associated it with my color. It's actually my culture. Right. So the culture that I associated with was one of education being one of the most important things. My diction being one of the most important things. Yeah. Learning Latin and different languages was one of the most important things. Playing soccer, which is a more international sport, was more important than, pursuing basketball or football, which might be more considered Black sports. So it really had nothing to do with my color, right? Yeah. I am brown skinned, right? My parents are brown skinned. So I wasn't acting Black. It was, I wasn't acting the culture that they had associated with Black. And I think that's it for me. I'm multicultural. My parents, are come from two different places. They met up at Howard University. You could just kind of hang out with my dad. You see where he comes from. You hang out with my mom. You see it's two different people come together to make me, right? So I'm bicultural in that way. And I think you are the same, regardless of the color of your parents, right? Where they came from made them have these two different cultures that then, created what you are today. So,
and I would like to promote biculturalism because it's amazing what you can do in a room. It's amazing what opportunities open up for you when you are open, truly, not just open, but when you can live within a multitude of cultures.
That's right.
Organically. I think it's where we're all headed, to the point. And there are extremely, extremely large benefits, to it.
Yep.
So
agreed.
speaking of beneficial, we want to give this audience the good word from our good friend, Priscilla Wise, who was kind enough to drop us a mistake in the making, which we hope to bring you so many of these jewels this year in 2023. What stuck out to you on this one, Nick? Mistaken.
Oh, man.
Little friendly advice from Priscilla Wise.
Yeah, there was so much good stuff in there. I don't have a specific quote because I don't know that a specific quote would do, kind of my reflection on this justice. But there is the way that she talked about it. She's kind of talked about all of her skills, right? And being in different rooms and bringing those skills, into the room and letting people know that she has these different capabilities, that she's different experience. And then people in the room saying, oh, wow, you do that? I didn't know that, right? We could really use that. And what that really made me think about was this idea that has been percolating, I think, at least for the past couple of years and probably through COVID, but this idea of bringing your whole self to work. Right. Because I noticed that a lot, you're kind of hearing that, right, where some of the dress codes that we've had in the past have kind of gone away a little bit, especially as we've mixed working at home and, being in the office. So people are like, why is it necessary to wear a suit and tie every day? Right. Is that really helping us get our jobs done? Bring your whole self to work. Don't be fearful of who you are. Whether it's as a gay man, whether it's as an executive producer of films, no. It's okay to bring those things into work, right? And I think that's what stuck out to me is that, Priscilla, I think at the time she was saying that she was in a room, and the room that she was in, she had positioned herself as a writer, right? Yeah. So what do we all do? We double down on that thing that we want to be, right? It's like writer. This is what I do. So I'm gonna tell everybody about my writing. But the thing that really stuck out was when she mentioned that she was an accountant, right? And the person in the room was like, I could use that. And the reason that struck me is that I do feel like even I do that sometimes where, honestly, I've got, my fun art here on the walls, but maybe I should start putting my Lego art up on the wall. And sometimes I think maybe I shouldn't because, what you and I do here, we talk about independent film, we talk about creatives, we talk about branding and marketing. Maybe that doesn't hit right if I put my Lego stuff up on the wall. I'm a big Adidas fan, right? You know that. Like I rock a bunch of Adidas stuff. I got an Adidas book right here on my desk. But it's like, but that's not what the people who are watching want to see, right? Because we're talking about film and that's who I am, right? That's who we are for this. But it's like, you know what? Having that Adidas thing or that Lego thing or whatever that thing is, that could create a connection with someone that never would have existed without it, right? That creates a connection, a human connection on a different level that maybe even deepens the connection we have with people who are listening. They're like, oh man, I've already listened to these guys, but he's a Lego fan too. I didn't know that, maybe, that thing behind you, that bonsai bee, that's Legos. That's something that I love doing. So anyway, I think that it really spoke to me because honestly, I believe that I need to do that more in my life. And I think that creatives, filmmakers, musicians, artists, whatever, need to do that. I mean, Chris, you were just talking about an event that you had gone to where, you hear these amazing musicians. Yeah. Right.
Like to a women in film and television mixer tonight.
Right.
Yeah. And I think everybody's, what you get to see sometimes when you go out to these events is you get to see what everyone has been working on for their entire life. That was what was so remarkable about it. It's like, yes, I'm on the board with these women and I know them in a boardroom capacity, but then to see them in their gowns, to see them nervous, to see them care about the end product, and then on top of everything else, just to see that they are remarkably talented. Like there's a reason they're on this board. It's like, oh, they're a concert level piano player. That's amazing.
Exactly. But bringing that, right? So that's
and
just
bringing that to the table.
Yeah. You just said this, like, them on the board. right? Yeah. But why not break out and talk about this thing that you did, this concerto that you played, this book that you wrote, this other thing? I think sometimes we're trying to be so much of one thing that we neglect those other parts of us that really we want to shine in ourselves. Like you said, they spend time doing these things. I have so many Legos, man. It's insane. Right.
Yeah,
and you've seen it. And the kids have Legos, right? So we're all in, but that's a part of me that, who knows, just by mentioning it can create a connection. And I think that's basically what I'm trying to do now through Priscilla's advice, is just push that even more and just say, hey, bring your whole self to whatever it is. Right? To work, to a conversation in a coffee shop, to a board meeting, to the next person you meet that you're having a conversation with. You don't have to be that one thing, because it's more than likely that you're not just that one thing.
Yeah. Creatives are not a monolith. They're just not. And there's a lot you bring to the table that you're interested in that will differentiate you from the next person, even in a competitive sense. Yep. I remember being told this when I graduated college, was that I needed to go out and live. And I was actually told this in an internship at BMI Zamba when I interned at BMI Zamba. It was like, you need to go out and live a rich life so that you have something to write about. And they were talking about songwriting. But the same thing happened when I got out of college, the same kind of advice, similar realm, which was when you go into an interview, they may have seen 4 people with your exact resume or similar look, and they're having to make a decision. And the differentiator will be that one connectivity point that you had that makes you easier to work with than the rest. That could be as simple as, oh, you love Adidas? I love Adidas.
Exactly.
Oh, you love Legos? I love Legos.
Right.
And so bringing your whole self to work or to any situation is so important, because it will result in you getting 30% more opportunities just because you brought your whole self to it. So kudos to Priscilla Wise for dropping the knowledge. And if you haven't listened to that, go do that right away at the any podcast player and on YouTube. That's Our Mistake in the Making with episodic writer Priscilla Wise. We also have a ton of new episodes out as well with Nell Thier. It's a great independent filmmaker. Her film Bolivar came out, or is complete, and I think you can watch it a few places, but I think it's still maybe seeking distribution. And then of course Kristen Baker, who just dropped Diva Box TV, which is it may not be the only, but it's kind of like one of a very small handful of LGBTQIA streamers, exclusively streaming that content. And she has been an innovator in that field for a really long time. So kudos to Kristen Baker as well. And kudos to you, Nick. This has been fun. I'm going to pour one last small glass of this French, you say Le Fait Papillon? Papillon, okay. As you speak French better than me. This is tasty. This is a varietal from the south of France. So it's 40% Merlot. And there's the label for anybody that wants to check it out and buy it for themselves. It's quite delicious, and I do recommend it if you have the means.
Very good.
And other recommendations, of course, are to follow us on social media at _Bonsai Creative, and to reach out to us, engage with us. Any questions, any concerns, any mistakes, anything you want to say to us, yell at us, smile at us, thank us, trash us, whatever you want to do, that can be accomplished at contact@bonsai.film. You can reach out to Nick directly at nick@bonsai.film. You can reach out to me directly on Twitter at Flame in Your Heart. Or you can just search for Chris Barkley, I think at this point. So you just search Chris Barkley. I'll be the one that pops right up. And you can DM me or tweet at me I answer 100% of those, and we answer 100% of emails received. So, and of course, you'll hear this in the post roll, but do go to bonsai.film to learn everything about the Make It podcast and about everything we're doing at Bonsai Creative. And with that, Nick, can you please leave us with the credo?
The credo. Yes, sir. This was great, man. I loved it. I love it. I love it. We're going to keep doing it. One, for ourselves, because we love hanging with each other, but of course for our, filmmaking friends, family, and fans out there. Be better, be creative, be engaged.
And thank you for listening. Nick, talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. We'll do it again, my brother.
All right. Be good.
Peace.